Welcome, Lauren.
Hello. So glad to be here.
Well, I'm thrilled to have you here. I'm so excited to hear about your journey from heart disease to heart disease reversal. Wow.
Yeah.
That is such an important message for everyone to hear. And I'm so glad that you're going to tell us all about that.
Well, so I was 46 years old and I was eating, basically what I thought was a healthy diet, kind of Mediterranean-ish, and not eating a lot of carbs and blah, blah, all that. My cholesterol has been sky high since I remember getting it tested when I was like 18 years old at the free clinic at college, and it was like 330.
Oh, that is
And
sky high.
uh,
Wow.
and the doctor was like, "You're not going to live to be 30 years old. You've got to clean up your act." And so I was kind of chunky. I lost probably like 10 pounds and really started cleaning up my act. And that's when I adapted more of like the Mediterranean style diet.
Now, what
Um,
made you say that you wanted to do that, the Mediterranean? How'd that come about?
that was because of my cholesterol. So I started when I was 18 years old. I started
Yeah.
really trying to exercise and to eat healthy. And I dropped my cholesterol to like 300 or 280. But that's eating like as well as I knew how at that
Yeah,
point.
yeah,
I wasn't eating well as I know it today,
yeah.
but I was eating fruits and vegetables, and I was eating some oatmeal, and I was eating low fat dairy and nuts and seeds and olive oil. And so I was trying to lay off the bread. And so I thought I was eating pretty healthy, like skinless, boneless chicken and all that. So fast forward to when I was 46 years old, my OBGYN, which was the only doctor I ever went to see because thought I was healthy,
Yeah.
just said, she'd always do blood work when I went in. And so we discussed my last blood work, which my cholesterol was like 288, 290. And she's like, I'm just surprised that your cholesterol is this high when you eat healthy. And I want you to get a CT scan, a
Mhm.
calcium CT scan, so we can see what your score is, where they measure the calcifications in your arteries. So I got one, and I was really shocked to find out that my score at 46 years old was 75% worse than every other woman my age. I was like beside myself.
And you
So,
get to see the image of, like, the
yes,
chambers of your heart.
yes, exactly, and I had 2 pretty good blockages. Like, I never got, like, a number like this is 80 or 90% blocked, but it was not good. It was looked pretty blocked, and one was the widowmaker, what do they call it? The left anterior descending, and then one was the right whatever,
Oh.
um, right coronary artery. So, they were both pretty you could see they were narrowed. So I went to a cardiologist, and still, again, I'm just in shock. And the cardiologist said, this is familial because it did run in my family. And I did have a very high LP little a, which is an indicator of, genetic heart disease. Um, so he said, there's really nothing you can do. You're just going to have to uh, eat chicken and fish and fruits and vegetables and low fat dairy and olive oil and nuts and seeds. And I looked at him and I said, that's exactly what I've been eating since I was 18 years old. So how can that be right? Like in that moment, I just knew something was really wrong. And he said, well, you also have to take a statin for the rest of your life. And I said, so if I take a statin, that's going to reverse my heart disease? And he's like, what? You can't reverse heart disease. And so I just sat there crying,
Oh
and
my goodness. Now,
I
did
was
you
like,
have any symptoms of looking back?
"No." Well, okay,
Because
that's what
sometimes in hindsight, you might think
yes.
where during the moment you didn't.
Right, exactly. In hindsight, um, well, I didn't think I did, but then, I've done yoga since I was, like, 25 years old, and I would always think like, oh, when I do a certain like up dog or something, like I get like my chest muscles hurt. That's weird. Well, it stopped. I never get my chest muscles hurting anymore.
And you're
So I,
older, right? So
yeah,
it should be
yeah.
worse now,
So
not
I
better.
figure I might have been having like a little angina or that I didn't realize that's what it was.
Oh,
Um, so and I don't know that for sure because I don't know what angina feels like, but I imagine it's like a little chest pain, but I only got it when I did certain yoga poses.
yeah.
But now I don't. And that stopped like a couple of weeks after I started a whole food plant-based diet. So anyway, I left the cardiologist. He called in the statin. I said, I'm not taking this um, because it's not going to reverse the disease and I want to get to the root of it. And he just thought I was kind of crazy.
So he said it was familial though, right? So
Yes.
what about your family history? What
Well, my mom's had like 3 heart attacks. She's still alive. She's not in great shape. I shouldn't say that in case God forbid she ever watches this. But she's not in doesn't have the quality of life I would want to have. She can't really go anywhere or do things. She has a caregiver, and her father died of a heart attack, his third one, a massive one, when he was 63 years old. My
Mm.
father's had a heart attack and stents, and so yeah, I mean, but that all being said, we've all eaten the same way and we eat the same food. So is it familial or is it familial?
Yeah,
And
yeah.
I do know that I do have some genetic markers because I've had a lot of testing. And so I do have genetic markers. And I also, my cholesterol is still high. Like every other test is now like perfect. And even you could see that I've had reversal with the clogging in my arteries, but my cholesterol is still not low and it's still not where it should
It
be.
so it went down, but
It went
it's
down.
still not. I mean, everybody talks about having this gold standard of 150, but not
Right.
everybody can achieve that.
Right. And I've kind of come to the conclusion. I've talked to Dr. Clapper about this. I'm sure you probably even have had him on, Dr. Clapper,
Yes,
or you know him. Yeah.
yes.
And he has said, and this is kind of my theory because like every other number that's in my control is good, except for my LP little a, which is still like so off the charts. I might just kill over right now. And if I do, what I have to say about that is I probably would have died 8 years ago,
Yeah.
or whatever. But I've chosen not to take a statin. And he said about the cholesterol that I have in my body is the cholesterol that my body wants to make. For whatever reason, my body loves to make a lot of cholesterol. And that's just the way it's going to be. And it fluctuates. I've had it all the way down to like 188. Um, but have a hard time keeping it there. Like I really just can't eat if I want to keep it down
Right.
there.
Yeah,
So
it's
when
yeah,
I yeah, so
it's
when I
kinda
eat a little bit of like nuts and seed sauces, which I didn't for a long time. I was doing like Dr. Esselstyn's Prevent Reverse Heart Disease, and
yeah.
for years I didn't really eat nuts or seeds except for like flax and chia. Um, but then when I got, and I'll tell you more about the tests I got and the proof of the reversal. But once I got that kind of confirmation, I decided, okay, I've really enjoyed eating this way, but I would enjoy it a lot more if I could have like a nut and seed sauce on my big salad or my lots of veggies. And now I'm going to eat this way for the rest of my life. And so I want to enjoy it. So I've incorporated a little bit of that. And so my cholesterol is probably like between 200 and 220. It's high. It's not good by any standards, except for every other number that I have that I'll talk to you about is really good. So, like I said, Dr. Clapper said that cholesterol is not coming from chicken or
Yeah,
eggs or fish or cheese. It's coming from your body. So,
right. And
for
just to be
whatever
clear,
reason,
the only source of cholesterol is from an animal. We as
right,
humans, we manufacture our own cholesterol, and
right,
then the animals also do the same. So when we eat animal products, even cheese, whatever comes from animals, we're ingesting cholesterol, and that becomes a part of us and makes our cholesterol go even higher than whatever our cholesterol would normally be without eating them. So, yeah, I can see that would be. I think I've talked to quite a few cardiologists, and most of them seem to be on the page where it's not so much what your cholesterol is, it's what's on your plate, what's in your shopping cart, that those are better indicators of what's going to be than the cholesterol, and it almost seems that that golden 150 could be more of an average. And
Yeah.
anytime you have some kind of a number, you're always gonna have people much lower, and people you're always gonna have that bell curve where there's gonna be people outliers on both sides. And so the most of the cardiologists and doctors that I've interviewed have had that consensus where it really is, what are you eating every day, and not your cheats and all that. It's your everyday thing. You
Mhm.
can't be cheating. And and of course, with all that news that you had, you're pretty serious about it. I'm very serious
Yes,
about it as
very.
well.
I
Yeah.
don't cheat. And, I think that's one of the reasons that I was able to when I found this out, I mean, literally, I think that night, I was talking to my dad on the phone, and he said, "You should try the Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease book. That's what my cardiologist told me to do." And I was like, "What?"
You've been holding out on me.
And so I ordered the book on Amazon that night,
Yeah,
had it, like, 2 days later, and I ordered the cookbook from, Anne and Jane Esselstyn with that, and I just started I ate oatmeal for breakfast, and then for lunch and dinner every day, I would just cook something out of that cookbook until I got the hang of it, and it wasn't long, because I like cooking, I've always liked not I can't say I've always liked it. I've always done it, but now I really like it because I like to eat and I can't eat what I want unless I cook it. So now
mm,
it's become like meditative to me and, just such a sign of love when you cook for other people like this. And so it's become something I really love to do now. Um, so I just started doing the Prevent and Reverse Heart Disease. I jumped right in. I can say I've never cheated a day since. Now I've had oil, like, if I've been in another country for a while and I don't have my food anymore, it's all gone, and I've gone to a vegan restaurant, and I'm like they say they can't make me something, and I just say, "What's the thing with the least amount of oil that's vegan in here?" And okay, so I've done things like that on occasion, but not
but
at
your
home,
normal
not at
everyday,
every
day-to-day
day.
life, you don't say, "Oh, I'll just have a little cheat day or a
No,
cheat
never.
meal or whatever."
Nope.
No, you don't.
Never, never, never.
Yeah.
Mm-mm.
Well, before we
That's
continue on, I'd like to start our game of true or false.
okay.
It's time for True or False on Be Green with Amy Live. Answer true or false to Amy's questions in the comments below, and Amy will ask our guest for the expert answer.
I thought it'd be appropriate to come up with this true or false. And we have a lot of green warriors watching, but we may also have some curious people that aren't familiar. So I'm going to put it out there for everyone. True or false, when adopting a whole food plant based lifestyle, you could quickly become over medicated if taking prescription drugs for blood pressure or diabetes. So, green warriors, go ahead and type in what your guess is for that answer. And Lauren, did you want to chime in?
Let me read the question more carefully. I don't want to answer. Uh, I would say that's true.
Yeah. Yeah, and that's something that I wanted to put out there, because if anybody is just starting out or thinking about starting and they are on medications, neither one of us are physicians and we're not giving out
Right.
medical advice, but we are familiar enough with this lifestyle to know that if somebody is currently on these medications, one or more of these kinds of medications, that this lifestyle is just so effective that
Mhm.
in a matter of days even, your blood pressure could come down, your insulin levels could change, and if you continued on taking the same dosage that your doctor prescribed, you could become overmedicated, so you really should consult with your doctor to let them know that you're trying this lifestyle out so that they can help monitor you, and if necessary, which if you do adopt this lifestyle, it probably will be necessary, help you titrate down off the medications, but you should never do it on your own. You should do it with your physician because they know best on how to titrate you down. So I
Right.
thought that would be a good thing to bring up in case we have anybody that's going to try it out or show it to anyone.
Yep, absolutely. Hi, Clark.
Yeah, I just wanted to put that up. She said, Love Lauren, first time hearing her reason of eating whole food plant-based diet. So you're out there doing lots of recipe demos and all kinds of things, telling people to eat this way. But Clark had not yet heard that. So
That's
hi,
good.
Clark. I'm glad that you're here, and that's so awesome. And of course, Anne guessed very correctly. True.
Clark really helped me out. It was so funny. My daughter lives in Australia, and Clark lives in Australia. And I guess I just posted something on Instagram about when I was visiting her in Melbourne, and Clark was like, "Oh, I used to live in Melbourne. You got to go to this place," and
Oh,
told me where to eat. And then I ended up at Diggers, and oh gosh, what's the place? I forget where it's called. It's like on the Great Ocean Road. And what's it called? He'll tell me.
yeah.
Um, but it's just this great whole food plant-based restaurant without oil, and so he just told me where to go and what to eat, or where to eat, and so he really helped me out.
Oh, that is very nice.
It was really nice.
Oh, yeah. You just wish you had somebody like that everywhere you travel.
Everywhere. It was really easy to eat in Melbourne. I want to tell you, they like every place was vegan. I even bought vegan boots there. Every place was Diggers Veggie Kitchen, but where is it? Like um, it's not in Melbourne. It's outside of Melbourne. Like I forget what the name of the little town is called. But anyway, doesn't matter. That's not
That's
the
a cute
important thing.
that's a cute name.
I know it's really cute. That's a
You
great place.
you'd be like, "Huh? Veggie? Digger? Hmm,
Yeah.
okay." And Clark said, "Okay." Oh, wow, that's great. That's great that you had
Anglesey, that's where it was. Anglesey. Not that
okay.
that matters, but if anybody wants to go there,
Yeah, well, you never we have
if you,
international viewers because you
that's
never
right.
know who's watching, and we wouldn't wanna leave them hanging like that.
Right.
Yeah. So, now were you on any medications? You refused the statin, so you weren't on any prescription
No,
medications? Okay.
I wasn't on any medication at the time, and my cholesterol came down pretty fast, and it came down, um, but it didn't stay as low. Like I said, it came down pretty fast. It didn't stay. It kind of bumped up after, and then I just started losing weight. My blood pressure came down. My blood pressure was like, I think it was like 136 over. It wasn't like high, but it wasn't really where it should have been. It was like
Mhm.
136 over like one. I don't even know what it was. I can look, but it came down pretty low. Last time I got it tested, it's normally like um 110 over 70 or 100 over, but the last time it was like 95 over like 65, and she was like, "Whoa, this is like a teenager."
I know.
Like, I've never
It's
even
almost like
seen
they
a
wanna
grown
put a mirror over your mouth to see if you're breathing. Because I get
man.
those looks often. Because
Yeah,
mine is in like the high 90s or
yeah,
mid-90s, and yeah, they'll
yeah. It
taken
was like
aback. It's
norm.
entertaining.
It is. It's like,
It's
I've
that
never
white
seen
coat
it.
syndrome. It's
Yeah,
normally lower.
that's so funny. 'Cause that's what my mom always says. Because hers is like 200. Every time she gets her
Oh,
blood pressure taken, they're like, they want to rush her to the emergency room. And she's like,
oh,
"I have white coat syndrome." She just starts yelling at them.
aw.
Hilarious. Bless her heart.
Oh, wow. Yeah, so
Yeah.
you were you trying to lose weight too? I mean, was that something on your
I
radar?
mean, I was always trying to lose like 5 or 10
Yeah,
pounds. I was always scared to eat because I'm like, why am I gaining weight? I'm eating what you're supposed to eat, which is
yeah.
low carb and blah, blah. So, anyway, I always was trying to lose a few pounds, but I never could. And now I know why. But so, yeah, the weight just came off pretty easily. And I've
Yeah, I'm
kept it
gonna
off.
show a picture. I mean, it wasn't significant as far as what other people might be looking to do for themselves, but
Right,
you did lose weight and you weren't trying to. It
right.
just kinda melted off with everything else.
Exactly,
Yeah.
and just the fact that, I don't have to struggle to keep it off, and I don't have to think about it
Mm.
anymore.
Yeah.
And, I'm gonna be 55 in a week or so, and I know most people at my age are that really struggling with their weight because it does get harder as you get older to lose weight or to keep it off. And I just love that it's not even on my radar anymore. I don't even think about it anymore.
Yeah, and
So
you're
I'm
not
grateful for that.
you're not feeling badly about something that you're eating if you have, because you do, we all have treats, right? We have
Sure.
treats, but you don't feel bad when you have the treat, and you're not weighing or measuring, or just limiting, things. You pretty much, I think, after how long have you been doing this now?
More than about 8.5 years.
Yeah, yeah, so you get to that point where you become a white belt. After you're white belt, you become a
Yes.
black belt, and then you know, you can
Yes.
tell about what the portions that you should be eating, and the things that are maybe calorie dense that you should leave for treats and
Right.
not indulge, and you kinda know. But isn't it wonderful to be at that phase in our lives where you can still feel good about the clothes that you're buying and wearing, and the food that you're eating, and those are not things. I remember, well, this was when I was in my 30s. I was around some women at a birthday party, and they wanted them to play some kind of game with the kids, and they said, "Okay, everybody get on the floor. We're all gonna sit on the floor." And some of the women, they didn't wanna sit on the floor because they said, "I'll never get up." And these women were in their 30s, you
What?
know? Yeah, yeah, so it's just it's a real thing that people are suffering with, and it's just so, and at the
Oh,
time, I
that's
didn't know
sad.
about the lifestyle. I could get up off the floor, but I myself was,
Yeah.
gaining each year, year after year, I was gaining weight,
Right.
and things were not gonna be good for me. I was going to be on prescription medications too. But yeah, so, and I just thought to myself, "Oh goodness, this is it. This is what everybody thinks is normal," you know?
Right.
And
That's
that's,
true.
yeah.
And I always say, like, if I had not taken the statin at that point. So let me back up. At that point, my cholesterol was a tiny bit high. I can look it up. I have my notes. What it was? My blood pressure was 136 over 82. My pulse was 72. And now it's like 58 or 59, my pulse. And my blood pressure, I just said, was like usually 100 over like, 60 or whatever. Um, so my blood pressure was a little high. My A1C was climbing. My first test I ever had, it said I was at moderate risk for um, what is that called? Like, um, not it's not type 2 diabetes, but just like, well, it's basically you're on your way to diabetes was what they were trying to say.
They call it pre-diabetes? Is that what you're saying,
No, they
or
called it
okay.
something. Anyway, it doesn't
Yeah.
matter. But that was climbing, and then you know, so I would have been on a statin. Eventually, I would have gotten on blood pressure medicine. Eventually, I would have had to take in some metformin or something for my blood sugar, my A1C. At this age. But if I would have taken that statin, my cholesterol probably would have come down. But that would be the only thing that would be good about me would be my cholesterol
Yeah.
would be maybe where it's supposed to. But my A1C would be high, my blood pressure would still be high. I probably would have gained weight, more weight
Mm.
at this point in my life. So everything would have just been still continuing in the wrong direction, except my cholesterol if I would have taken the statin, which is exactly what the doctor was trying to talk me into.
Mm.
Um, so that's the thing that I always want people to keep in mind. And like I said, I'm not a doctor, but it's everything that you're eating, everything that you put in your mouth is a vote for your health or against your health. And I think I was starting to say that I think that one reason I was able to do this so easily is that I just jumped right in. I didn't dabble. I didn't say, let me try, because I think that makes it worse on
Yeah.
you um, when you just dabble in it because you're still addicted to all those terrible foods that, I used to eat like a bag of baked Lays in one
And it's
day.
baked, right?
It's
So,
baked, it's healthy.
yeah.
And so, I would not sit down and eat it in one sitting, but I'd be like going back and forth to the pantry all day long because I couldn't stop
Mhm.
thinking about it because it was in my closet calling me, Lauren. And so, you know, you're addicted to those things. And so I think once I went cold turkey, as they say, it was much easier for me. But now if I want potato chips, I make potato chips. I just slice up a potato and I put it in the, oven or whatever, the air fryer. So I
Yeah.
love this way of eating because you really can still eat everything. And that's kind of my thing, is that I want people to know that you can eat anything you used to eat in your before life, but you just have to make it yourself or figure out how to make it.
Yeah,
So,
and you have, and we'll talk later about that, that you have a lot of, you've veganized a lot of, comfort foods and things that,
right.
that you've done a lot of cooking demos on your YouTube channel and on other people's shows as well.
Mhm.
So, yeah, it is, and you really just, I agree with you, you just have to go all in, and so many people are afraid to make that change, but the sooner you do it, the sooner your taste buds adapt, and
Mhm.
then things, then when you start feeling better, that, I think that's for me. For some people, it's like with my husband, he first said when we first started the lifestyle, because as you can see with the before and after pictures, I mean, I needed it, but he really needed it. And, he said, "I'll do it, but only if it tastes good." So it was really important to him for him for it to taste good. And at first he didn't feel very good doing it. And that's another thing. And if anybody hasn't yet adopted the lifestyle, you could potentially not feel so good when in the beginning because you're going through withdrawal. Did you experience any of that?
I didn't, but I think, like I was saying, I don't think that I was eating an extreme
Yeah,
diet. Like,
yeah.
I wasn't eating fast food and I wasn't eating horribly. So that's why it
Mhm,
was such a shock to me
mhm.
because I thought I was eating healthy. So no, I didn't experience that.
Yeah,
I really didn't have any problems
right.
like that.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, I agree. It has to taste good. But that's one of the things that I think is so delightful for me especially, is that I was always, like I was saying, I was always scared to eat because I'm like, "Oh, I'm gonna gain 5 pounds if I eat that, and I can't have a sandwich." I love a sandwich. I can't eat a sandwich if I'm gonna gain weight. I'll just eat the insides out of the sandwich or whatever nonsense, that we've been taught.
Yeah.
And so now if I wanna eat a sandwich, I eat a sandwich. I eat it on Ezekiel bread or Mustermacher or however you say that bread or whatever, but,
Yeah.
I eat it, or I make a potato bun. Um, I make it out of a potato, something like that. So it's compliant, but, that's the thing I love about it, is that you can just eat anything you want. You just have to figure it out.
Mhm. Yeah, and it takes time, and you talked about going to Australia, that's what my husband would say. He'd say, It's like we moved to another country, and we just
Yeah,
have to learn what their cuisine is and learn what we like about their cuisine, and then we can adapt and eat that instead." So, that's pretty much how we looked at it, and it's worked out pretty well for us.
that's so nice. And you said he does the cooking?
Yeah, I was doing well, we are SOS free, so we don't
Yeah,
have any added sugar, oil, or salt, and so
same.
that made it a little bit more,
Mhm.
difficult to transition into because if you're used to having a lot of salt especially, that was tricky. The sugar, you can always substitute dates and
Yeah.
things like that, but the salt, we had to find ways, and this was back in, 2012, so there wasn't as much information out there,
Mhm.
and I was scouring the internet and trying to read, and so I was doing all the research, and he would just say, "Tell me what we can have and what we can't have." And I'd be making things, and some of those things that we were eating, because they didn't have any salt in them, especially, some of them we actually just kind of threw away, which now we would never do. We would just know how to change seasonings in it and make it taste better, you
Yeah.
know. But yeah, so it was a little bit of a transition, but then we discovered the ways to make it taste good. And so he kind of slowly, I started kind of getting pushed out of the kitchen as he was taking over and doing the recipes, and he was
Oh,
having
lucky.
he was getting more joy out of it than I was. I was getting a little frustrated because, but if I was starting today, it wouldn't have been frustrating because I would have had so many recipes and access to so many things on the internet. It would have been just so easy. But back
Yeah.
then, we still had to kind of try to figure it out. So he did, and so I found out a lot of ways to make it taste good, and I would tell him the different kind of spices that were out there, like, we found out about sumac and things like that, that if you wanted a little salty taste or the citrusy things, and then things started to come together, and after the first week, he felt like he was coming down with the flu, and I wanted to make that mention because if people are watching and thinking about it, don't I mean, he didn't have fever, okay? So because of that, we knew that he wasn't coming down with the flu. He just was going through withdrawal. And he said, I'll give it a week. And after that, maybe it's not for me. And thank goodness that's about the time that it took. And then he started to feel a lot better. And of course, men lose weight a lot more.
Faster, right?
A lot faster. So he
Oh,
was
it's so
getting all
annoying.
these results and I was slowly, coming off, which was okay. But anyway, so as he started feeling better and it was, he had that same calcium score test and it wasn't good at all. So that's something nice about the test that if you did have it, you could actually get that visual. And once you see
Yeah.
that visual, you cannot get that out of your mind,
Mm-mm.
right?
Well, that was it for me. I was like, I don't want to die, and I had little kids still, and you know, I was like, okay, I'm done. Just tell me what I have to do, and it just wasn't a question of,
Mhm.
am I going to do this? So I just did it.
So now did you report back to your original doctor? How
No, people ask me that all the
yeah,
time. I
well, we
actually
have to
tried, I know. I tried to call once and I said, I just want to talk to him about my results. And they were like, well, you really just have to make an appointment and come in. And I'm like, I'm not paying money to come in to
Yeah,
tell him, you know.
yeah,
So I just never did. Um,
yeah.
and then, so I guess it was about 2 years ago, I finally said, I really need some evidence that I've reversed it. Like, I know like a lot of signs are there, but I really need some testing. I want to see what happened. Like, can I see if there's any reversal? So I found another cardiologist. He was supposed to be really good, but he's not a plant-based
Yeah,
cardiologist. So I
yeah.
knew I was going to be fighting an uphill battle. But I found out the name of the test, the Cleveland Heart Lab test that I wanted to take. Have you heard of that before?
Yes, but tell
Okay.
everybody about it. Mhm.
So the Cleveland Heart Lab test, it measures everything, but it measures like disease activity in your body and inflammation and let's see, presence of disease, risk for disease, and risk for disease, presence of disease, and disease activity. And so, but mostly inflammation. So I got the test. I went to the cardiologist, and he was supposed to be like one of the best cardiologists in Austin. Nice man. Um, Ironically, when I went to the cardiologist the first time, he was my age at the time, 46. And when I went to this cardiologist 2 years ago, uh, he was my same age then. And so he's like, he looked at my prior results, my cholesterol, my calcium CT score, and my LP little a, and he just said, all right, I'm going to give you this test, but I'm just going to tell you right now, when it comes back, I already know your body's going to be riddled with inflammation and you're going to have to be on a statin. And meanwhile, I mean, I'm sitting in his office, I'm at good weight. I don't probably look like the, typical profile of somebody who comes in. I look healthy. And this is what he says to me, just because of my age and just because of my history. He poo-pooed before he saw anything. I told him I've been eating a whole food plant-based diet for 6 years. I want to see if we can see
I
any
want my gold
reversal.
star.
Right. Give it to me. And he gave me an echo stress cardiogram, and he gave me
The carotid.
carotid artery test, and I came back. When I went back for my results, he said, okay, well, I don't really know how to explain this, but it's amazing. He doesn't know how to explain it. You have zero plaque in your carotid arteries. Your echo stress cardiogram is great. And you have very low risk for disease, very low presence of disease, and very low disease activity. So I don't, and this is actually, I don't know if you could see
Well,
it.
I'm gonna
So,
put you on a solo screen so you can kinda see it.
okay, I should have just like shared my screen. I actually have this somewhere. So this is him saying, whoops, this is where he thinks I started. And this is where he thinks I am now, the little circles of, the artery
It's so
clogging. And sorry,
Go
it's
ahead.
hard to see. This is terrible. But you can just see everything's in the green, right? That's
Yeah.
all you really need to know. It's nothing that other than everything's in the green, like oxidized LDL, ADMA, which suggests that I have optimal levels of nitric oxide. So anybody who follows this program knows that, especially Dr. Esselstyn is always talking about nitric oxide
Yes.
and how it, to eat your green leafy vegetables 6 times a day so that you
Because it's a
can dilate.
vasodilator, yeah.
Right. So
It
that
opens up your
your arteries.
arteries, and it makes it easier for the blood to flow, because if the blood is not flowing through, if it's narrow, then your heart has to pump harder and increase your
Right.
blood pressure just to get it through.
Right. And I don't eat my green leafy vegetables 6 times a day. I'm sorry, Dr. Esselstyn, but I eat a ton of green
Yeah.
leafy vegetables. I mean, he says to eat like this much 6
Uh-huh.
times a day, but I eat like this much,
Yeah. Yeah.
2
Well, I
times a
mean,
day.
the patients that he was giving that advice to, I think he even called them the walking dead. So
Right.
they were sent home to tell their loved ones to prepare. So
Right.
for them, that was, I think, very good advice, so
And I'm
yeah.
not saying you shouldn't do it. You should. I'm
Yeah.
just saying I haven't been the best patient, but I eat a ton of vegetables and a
Yes.
ton of green leafy vegetables. I'm just not
Mhm.
doing it, throughout the day like he recommends. But clearly, I'm getting a lot of nitric oxide.
Yeah. And it was so interesting to see the graphic, because you would almost expect it to go from that good side and progress to worse and worse and worse.
Well,
And
yeah,
how many doctors could ever show somebody that it so you actually really did reverse.
right. And this is what the cardiologist said. I want you to come back in a year because I guarantee this is not going to be the same. He said, you're going to show a lot more inflammation in your body next year. I'm like, what's wrong with you? I'm like, why do you want me to be sick? And he goes, look at me. I take a statin. He has a big belly. I'm sorry, not to be mean, but he had
Yeah,
a big belly. He ate whatever he wanted. He
yeah,
told me he likes to enjoy a cigar once in a while, the whole spiel, the whole
yeah,
thing. And he's shaming me
yeah,
or telling me that I'm not doing the right thing. And I said, you're a nice man, but you're not being helpful to me as a doctor because I've just shown you
yeah.
with a test that I have reversed my disease and you're not being very excited for me.
Not
You're
encouraging, yeah.
No, you should be wanting to tell all of your patients to do this. And he's like, I
Mhm.
just don't believe it. I just don't believe that this is still going to be like this in a year. And I'm like, okay. But I'm going to go back like probably pretty soon. But I'm like, I'm not taking this test again in a year. That's an
Oh,
expensive
yeah.
test. And,
Right,
but
because I would
I'll
just
probably,
at that point, I would wanna wager with him and say, "Let's have a little wager.
yes, yes,
You don't charge me for the test or the visit in a year, and we'll see. If
that's right.
or I will pay for it, and I'll give you $100. You wanna wager?"
It's just, I know. It's so sad to me, um, how the doctors how this happens, but, you know, my husband had, a kidney stone the other day, and he would say he eats like me, but he doesn't. He's, like, vegetarian, which is good because he used to eat a lot of meat, and, so he's become like vegetarian. He still eats some dairy. He's really tries to cut back on it. Um, but anyway, he doesn't eat enough vegetables and he doesn't
Yeah,
eat enough fruit. He'll eat a salad, sometimes, but he'll put like some Beyond Chicken on it or something. You know,
Yeah.
it's not, or
Yeah.
maybe some blue cheese dressing. It's not great.
Yeah.
So he got a kidney stone the other day, and we went to follow up with the urologist, and they did like a CT scan of his whole body, and he's pretty healthy. I'll give him that, other than his kidney stone. But we're at the urologist, and he's looking at the CT scan, and he said, everything looks really good. He said there's like a little, like a pocket in your colon, that he said, I don't even know why the person points this out to me anymore that reads these, because everybody has them.
Everybody has them.
And so I
Everybody
said,
has a belly button and everybody has a pocket in their colon.
like, I said, well, how can he reverse, how can he reverse that? I said, does he need to eat more fiber? And the doctor said, nah. He goes, nah, that's something you would have to have started when you were a kid. It's too late. Like, just don't worry about it. And my husband looked at me because he knew. He was like, okay, calm yourself down and don't make a scene in the doctor's office. But he knew I was about to just rocket
Yeah.
out of my chair and just
Oh,
like,
yeah.
ah. But I was like, so you don't think he should eat more fiber? And he's like, well, I mean, he can if he wants, but it's not going to do anything. And I'm like, you don't think? I just kept like asking, leading
Yeah.
questions,
Yeah.
and he really just wouldn't get on board with me. And I'm like, wow. I said, I feel like that's a missed opportunity to get this man to eat some more vegetables. But
Yeah.
okay. So
So,
of
I
course,
mean, afterwards, when you were debriefing with your husband,
oh yeah,
was there
I was like,
any
you're eating some more
indication?
vegetables.
So, what was he on board or?
uh, well, he said, I'll try, and
Yeah.
I said, I'm gonna be better about trying to make some things that you like, because honestly, now I've just sort of given, I shouldn't say
Yeah.
given up, but I've just sort of like let him make his food.
Right.
He always tastes everything I make, and he always likes it. But then he said, I just can't get full on this. I'm like, well, then you just have to eat some more. Why
Mhm.
can't you just eat more of it in an hour? That's what I do if I'm hungry again. I eat some
Yeah.
more vegetables or some more whatever the food was.
Yeah.
Um, so we went
I
home, and
mean,
I
does he
made
have beans or potatoes or anything with that?
he, yeah, I mean, he does. He eats that. He eats beans and he eats
And
potatoes,
he
and
doesn't get full on because whenever I eat things like beans and potatoes, wow,
I know,
I
me
am
too.
full.
Of course, you're full. He just has it in his mind, like, that he's not
Yeah.
gonna be full. But he does, like, I made him some pancakes with, oh my god, I hope he's not gonna watch this, but I put, like, flax, and I put psyllium husk in it, and, I made and
Yeah.
did a bunch of fruit with it, and so that was what he had this morning.
Uh-huh.
And he doesn't eat lunch. Sometimes he'll eat, like, a bagel with Kite Hill, vegan cream cheese on it during the day. And
Mm.
then for dinner, he did eat a salad last night, but it had blue cheese dressing on it, like real blue cheese dressing.
Yeah.
So that's not great, but I don't know. And like when he tastes my salad dressings, he's always like, oh, this is delicious. Like
Mhm.
if my kids come over and I just toss the salad with the dressing that
Yeah.
I've made, he's always like, this is really good. I'm like, okay, so why can't you eat this on the other nights when the kids
Yeah.
aren't here? Oh, because I like my blue cheese. And,
Yeah.
it's it
He
just
has to want it more than you do.
I know, it's really hard. It's
So,
hard.
but I mean, he's kind of on board, so that's good. I mean, he's not, running out to the drive-through every day.
No.
So,
No, no, no.
that's a
He's
good
not.
thing.
Yeah. So,
Yeah, he'll come around. He just has to have that why for himself, and he'll figure it out.
yeah. Yeah.
Thanks wasn't though, is that Thanks thinks that it might be tough for you to have those foods in your house. Is that tough for you?
No, you should see what's in my pantry. There's barbecue potato chips, jalapeno potato chips, which are 2 things that I used to just come unglued for, loved. There's always ice cream in the house. He has chocolate in the house. I mean, I just don't, in my mind, I'm just like, well, that's not mine. It's
Mhm.
not for me. I just don't even think about eating anything like that. Um,
Yeah. Not
I don't
everybody can
know.
be that way. There are some people that that their body becomes possessed, and suddenly they're ripping open the bag, and then they're after they eat it and they're looking and they're like, "How did this even happen? I don't remember it even happening." So for some people, unfortunately for you, you're not, and we were talking about spectrums. I think for food addiction and cravings, I think there's a spectrum. I think there are people that, well, even it's there, I can do without it, and then there's other people on the other side of, they're like, it can't even be anywhere in the house, it can't be in the garage, or I'll find it. So
I think you're right, but I do think that I used to be highly addicted. As a matter of fact, I was going through some of your podcasts because I hadn't seen any before, and
yeah.
now I'll watch it. But I watched the one with Joan Ifland about food
Oh yeah, she
addiction,
does food addiction, yeah.
and it really hit me because when she was saying that she used to rage, I used to do that too. I know I was so highly addicted to certain foods, that I couldn't just leave it. Like, it's shocking to me that I don't eat those potato chips that are in there because that was always my thing, like chips. It
Yeah.
was not usually the sweets. But when she was talking about raging, I was like, when I was younger, I would sometimes rage like that and also just eat like, and then I didn't know what happened.
Mm,
Um, so I think it was the food addiction.
yeah.
And I think because I'm not addicted anymore to those things
Mm,
and I haven't had it in 8 years and I don't cheat, um, I think that, it doesn't bother me. And I still think like, oh, like I said, I want some chips, but I'll just make some chips and I'll
yeah.
make a dip or whatever.
Mhm.
And I can stop eating those things because it doesn't have that food additives or whatever that makes your
Yeah.
brain light up like you just did some cocaine or whatever. Um, so yeah, I think that I was, and yes, you're right. I must be somewhere on that spectrum where I'm okay with that because man, it
Right.
would be hard to live with him otherwise. But he just has his thing. He
Yeah,
has his
yeah,
foods.
he'll come through. But yeah, I think for me, the knowledge, and that's why I started this podcast, because there wasn't very much out there when I was first started in 2012, but I did listen to some podcasts and watch some videos and got books, and now I'm interviewing people. But even when I'm not interviewing people, I'm listening to podcasts and reading books every single day, and I really think that especially people with food addictions, you really need to just immerse yourself in this lifestyle. You need to listen to podcast. I have podcasts that you can download, so you don't have to watch it on YouTube. You can watch it on the airplane or listen to it on the airplane. But you
Mhm.
or and your YouTube channel, which we'll talk about in a little bit, every day. You need to hear all the research out there and all the doctors that are talking about these things, because it's here we're mainly talking about heart disease, but it's not just about heart disease. It's not just about diabetes and weight loss. There are so many other things that what is wonderful about the lifestyle is that they will help prevent and sometimes reverse certain things. But I often think, wow, I went how many decades not knowing about this. I've
Right.
got a lot of making up to do. I have a lot of damage that I don't see or feel that I'm walking around with, and if I do a cheat day or even a cheat snack or whatever it is, then I'm just right now, I'm trying to run up an escalator that's going down, trying to get back my body and my health. Even though I feel good, I know that there's damage, so that's my reason. I always hear people when I'm listening to these podcasts and reading these books, I'm learning about so many things that are going on a molecular level. My goodness. There are just
Mhm.
so many, the body is just an amazing thing. It's just a miracle, but it wants to heal.
And it heals really quickly.
Yeah.
And so when you say like a cheat, do you have a cheat meal or what?
No,
No.
no. I
Okay, you're
mean,
just talking about in
no,
theory if
no.
you were going to have
I'm
one.
just saying,
No, I
I
never
would,
do that.
if I've gone to, relatives' homes where they would have dinners or buffets or whatever, and, I always bring my own food.
Me
I
too.
I always bring my own food, and if I rarely go out to restaurants unless I know that it's gonna be clean, but the food that I eat is always so much better than anything that I would get in a
Mhm.
restaurant anyway, so I really enjoy what I eat. But yeah, just the thought of eating anything that's outside of what I do I'm scared to eat it. It's just to me, it's like if you were a smoker and then you gave up smoking, and then having even one cigarette, that could just put you over over the edge of from all the damage that you did all those years. So,
Hmm.
why would you even do that? So
No.
that's how I look at it. I look at it from a very logical, but I may not be on the same spectrum for food addiction because I did have food addiction, but I may not be on that high side that other people are on, and I understand that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so we did have a question from Thanks wanted to know what are some good salt substitutes because we talked about that we're SOS free, no sugar, oil, or salt, and I had mentioned something called sumac, which I use. What do you like to use for salt substitutes?
Well, I shouldn't say I'm completely salt free because I'm
Mhm.
not. Because I'll do like, a jarred marinara, like that's fat free from Whole Foods. So I'm eating salt. Um, but I'm not like cooking with salt generally. But so when I'm gonna cook something, I'd use like miso or Bragg's liquid amino or something like that to give a salty flavor or salt substitute. Or I do, like you mentioned, sometimes citrus, which sounds crazy depending on what you're cooking can just really brighten it up um and do that. But I'll admit, like if I cook, well, especially if my kids come over, like I'll put salt. Like if I'm making mashed potatoes, I'll take out for them and I'll put like salt in their mashed potatoes. But I won't eat it, salt in my mashed potatoes. But that's still something that's a hard sell, potatoes without salt for
Yeah,
people who aren't
for
used
some
to it.
people, yeah.
Um, so yeah, I can't say I'm completely salt free because that would be a lie. But those are
Yeah.
things that I go to a lot for to salt it up.
Yeah, there's something that I also like to use called, Benson's Table Tasty, and I'll put that in the comments
Oh,
in the show
okay.
notes, and that was a game changer for us. It really was.
I'm gonna write that down.
Yeah, it's if you won't miss salt when you use that. So we use that in a lot of our recipes. And then of course just upping the different kinds of spices that
Yes.
we just only had a few different kinds of herbs and spices that we used before this lifestyle, but now we've really tried quite a few other ones that we had never tried before, and it was just great. Sometimes, oh, another thing you could try is kelp granules.
Yes.
They might add a
Mhm.
fish flavor, but they also kinda make you feel like it's, a little salty. Another thing
Mhm.
that I like to use is sun-dried tomatoes. Now, for me, I'm a very clean eater, so a lot of sun-dried tomatoes will come made with oil, so I
Right.
seek out the ones that are not made with oil. Also, there's something called sulfur. Ever notice how a lot of raisins are black? Well, that's what they look like when grapes look like when they get dried up and shriveled up, they turn black. So, but now if you tried to get a dried apricot, you might find a dried apricot that was bright orange. Well, it shouldn't be bright orange, but it has something called sulfur, which keeps it from oxidizing. So I tried to, anytime I do any kind of dried fruit, I try to get something that has no sulfur in it. So it makes it a little more challenging. But, good, better, best is what I say. So if you're going to avoid salt and you have to have sulfur because you're getting sun-dried tomatoes, it's probably better than
Right.
that. And my husband's in the other room. He popped in and he just popped out because he wanted to show me that and if you see it's almost empty, but this is the sumac that we have used,
That's
and
so
that's
funny that he
yeah,
popped in there. That's so
yeah.
cute.
So
Aw,
yeah, he's a great supporter, and it's been well, I mean, as you could see with the before and after pictures, I mean,
amazing.
it changed his life, and, he'll often say that he doesn't think that he would be alive today, or if he was, that he probably would have had a stroke that and been
Oh,
debilitated, permanently disabled. So he's all on board with this, and he was a real foodie. I think he was on the spectrum of more liking food, and really liking it a lot. So it was something but he's been on board and he's just done so well. I'm really so proud of him. But he had that why where he knew, and for him, he says, he used to if he would climb up a ladder to fix something in the house, I mean, back then he would get out of breath, his knees would hurt,
Oh,
and now he's almost a decade older and he's not short of breath and he's just able to do so. And of course, he got off all of his prescription medications and it's just been really, really nice.
that's so nice. I mean, I think that's, I shouldn't say part of the problem, but my husband's like at a good weight. He runs 4 miles a day. He can do everything. He's not on any medication. I think the kidney stone hopefully was a little wake up call for him,
Yeah.
but he needs a little something like that to
Yeah,
not to
and
scare him, but
it'll
I hate to
happen.
say
I
that,
think
but I
probably
don't.
probably in the next decade, and it's like, there's certain things for men that are more meaningful than
Right.
anything else,
That's
and
right.
it could be that might
It could
start
be the
to
thing that
show its
starts it.
face, and then that might be something that may say, "Hmm,
Maybe, hmm,
maybe
maybe I'll
now
need
it's
some
time." I don't care about
plants.
heart disease or blood pressure, but that's important.
You know what? I bet you're right. So it's funny.
Which is nice that it's helpful for that too. So,
Right.
Wendy said Cellulicious has sumac, onion, tomato, mustard, kombu, thyme, and
Kombu. Ooh,
cumin.
I love kombu.
It's an organic product. I have not heard of
Cellulicious.
that.
Where do you get
Yeah.
that?
Yeah, where do you get that, Wendy? Maybe Wendy will tell us where
I'll
where
Google it.
where
I have
she
a whole
gets
list
that.
of going here. Cellulicious.
Yeah, I mean, these are always that's what I love about this because we, as a tribe here, the Green Warriors are always having great contributions to the broadcast, and they're so very
Always.
helpful, and we're always learning, right, from each
Always.
other. So that's great. Wow. So let's see. We kind of
Local
well,
spicery. Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Oh, what is it from? Okay.
Local spicery.
Local oh, okay, that's I've
That's
had him on my show too,
yeah,
yeah.
they're always
I'd
on.
have
Yeah, I was
I'd
gonna say
have
on
to
Chef
check that
AJ's.
out. I
Uh-huh.
didn't know. Okay, I'll have to
Okay.
look at that. Yeah.
That's good to
So,
know.
yeah, because those are the things that are just those spice blends are really fantastic when
Yeah, she
people
said
can
she
come up with them. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah. Okay. Um, okay, I wanted to see what other what maybe we should just open it up to some questions. Why? Because I haven't been showing it. Because we had some people that wrote in and emailed some questions too. And anybody that's watching live, if you have a question, you can go ahead and type it in the comments. Let's see. Okay. Alicia said, "What advice do you have for someone who wants to follow a plant-based diet but is concerned about the potential costs? Were there budget-friendly strategies you found helpful?"
Yeah, actually, I feel like it's more budget friendly to eat a whole food plant-based diet than I mean, meat is expensive, dairy is expensive, and really, I'm gonna be honest, what I eat every day, I don't cook a ton of different things unless I'm, like, doing recipe development or trying to cook something nice for my kids or my husband. Every day, I eat a big salad, either for lunch or dinner, and I mean a big salad, like, I call it my
Like
Jethro
somebody
Bodine
says, "Are you
bowl.
gonna eat all that?"
Right,
Then you know
yes.
it's a big salad.
It's a big salad, the big salad. And then for the other meal, I'll have a bowl with like either lentils or beans and um, brown rice or quinoa, and then all kinds of vegetables. Maybe I have like a steamed, I will definitely have like steamed greens and different, roasted vegetables. And then I'll have maybe some tofu or some tempeh, sometimes a potato or a sweet potato, a small one or a piece of one, depending, what I put in my bowl. But I have lots of different things like that. And that's really budget friendly. And those are the things that I eat all the time, like most of my meals. And then and I think that people who are successful in this way of eating eat the same things like that. And then you just change up the sauces. Like I'll make a different nut or a different seed sauce, and then it feels like a brand new meal. So that's my advice. I think it is budget friendly, honestly. Is that helpful, or do you have
Yeah,
other
I
questions?
think that's very helpful, yeah, and sometimes I think people are concerned about the vegetables that are perishable, and for us, if we see something that's in the refrigerator and it may be looking like it's wilting or whatever, we'll either blend it in a smoothie or roast it with
Right,
roasted vegetables, or we'll put it into a soup, so nothing ever gets wasted, and then
right.
I was talking before the show that we use something called super cubes, and that's very helpful because you can freeze things in them, and so they're kind of like ice cube trays, but they're bigger than ice cube trays in the fact that each of the vessels is holds about a half a cup or a cup depending on which size you get, and they to me, they're just been very helpful in the lifestyle because batch cooking, I think that's where it's at, right?
Yeah. I
Yeah, so
mean, I
you
do. I cook up a bunch of rice, a bunch of beans, a bunch of quinoa, a bunch of lentils,
yeah,
and
and
then
this way you're not cooking every single day, and
right,
and we freeze things also. Yeah.
right.
Okay, so we have an
Hi,
I thought I
Angela.
saw another question. Oh, okay. Jessie T, what foods do you pack when you travel?
Oh, that's good.
That's a
Okay,
good one.
so, well, if you're going in your car, that's easy. You can pack a cooler of anything. I do like, uh, I mean, if I'm going in my car, I pack a cooler of like, I make a big thing of pad thai. I find that that travels really well for some reason. You can eat it cold. And I do the lentils and quinoa versus rice and beans. I feel like that travels better in a cooler. And I do a bunch of tofu, tempeh. I do all my potatoes, fruits and vegetables, oatmeal. So if I'm going in a car, it's really not a problem. If I'm going on a plane,
Mm.
um, so I really always have to check my luggage because of my food and my shoes. So I'll just bring a ton of food and a ton of shoes. So if I'm going on a plane, I check my luggage, and in the luggage, my hummus is in there, and my oat milk, and anything that I make in advance, like any kind of salad dressings or things that need to stay cold. I'll usually have a big thing of salad dressing, and then I pack that. I have like there are containers that are like leak proof. So I do a big one of my salad dressing, and then I bring some empty little ones so that I could pack it down and stick it in my purse when I'm going out to a restaurant. And I do the same for my oat milk in case I want to grab like a decaf coffee, and I'll have my oat milk with me instead of having to get like a latte with all their nonsense in it. Um, and then what I bring with me on the plane are going to be like my rice crackers and my peppers travel really well, like crunchy, hearty vegetables that you could dip in your hummus. I always kind of just bring that on the plane with me. So I have a lot of vegetables, and I have hearty fruit like apples, um, berries. I always do like big containers of berries. But yeah, my hummus did get confiscated at the airport once. They said it was a paste. So since then, that goes in my suitcase. So that's basically what I bring with me.
Yeah, I've taken things like oatmeal with me and because and then of course your bag gets inspected. You have to leave a little extra time because chances are they're gonna wanna see what your food is, and of course to
Right.
them, they're like, "Well, what is this? It certainly isn't food." And you're like, "That's my
Yeah.
breakfast."
That's my food. I know. And then, also I've done at the airport, like I'll go into Starbucks, and you can buy an oatmeal in there, and you can buy even just like a cup of soy milk so that you can take that on the plane with you in case you need that, like when you land, if you're going to have like cereal and you weren't
Yeah.
prepared. So anyway, there's ways to do that.
Oh, Angela. Hi, Angela.
Hi, Angela.
She said Lauren always has fabulous tips, so
Thank
helpful.
you.
Yes, yes. And Angela's gonna be coming back on the show. She's been
Oh,
on
she's great.
yeah, she does lots of classes for us, and you guys should tune in for
Oh,
those as well.
she's
Yeah.
wonderful. I think she's actually the person that connected
Yes,
us.
yes, she did. She
Yes,
connected
she's
us. Yeah.
lovely.
Yes. She
She has
any
great
person that she
information.
connects me with, I know is gonna be fabulous, and you're fabulous.
Oh, thank you. So are you.
Oh, thank you. Well, I wanted to give you a chance to talk about, what you do. I wanna invite everybody, please click like to show your appreciation for Lauren, what she shared with us today. And so why don't you tell us, what do you do and how can people get in touch with you?
Um, well, thank you. So my company is called wellelephant.com, and I called it that because elephants are strong, beautiful herbivores supported by their community, and you are too. So that's why I called it Well Elephant. Um, and the main thing that I have right now is a class, an online class, and it's on my website, and it's called ACE Plant Based Eating. And ACE is an acronym. A stands for Amend the Recipe. So take anything that you used to like to eat in your before life and learn how to make it compliant. And that's the key to sticking to this, is to really just have foods that you like. So A is amend the recipe. C is cook without oil, because that's the thing that you really have to do to lower the fat in your life and keep your arteries from clogging. And E is eat on the go. So some of the things that I just mentioned about travel, and I have a lot of advice for going to restaurants. I actually go to restaurants pretty often. I live in Austin, and they're a little bit friendly here to this way of eating. And I've worn a lot of restaurateurs down, so they'll make me stuff. But um, I just give advice for going out to eat. So amend the recipe, cook without oil, and eat on the go. I think those are really the three things that you have to be able to master to be able to eat this way. So I have a code if you want to take the ACE plant-based eating class. Uh, you can just click on my website, and then when you're checking out, if you put in that ACE40 discount code at checkout, it makes the class $39 instead of $79, and you get lifetime access, and you can do it at your leisure, and it's super easy, and it really sets you up for success. Like, your fridge is going to be stocked when you're finished. You'll have rice and beans and all the things that I just kind of talked about, the bowl. And so that's those are the main things that I do. I'm on Chef AJ every month. I have a cooking class, or a cooking show on her channel the second Monday of every month. And it's called Plant Based Classics. So I just kind of show you how to, we go through different things each week or each month, and I show you how to make something compliant. This month, on August 14th, we're going to do portobello fajitas that are
Ooh, that sounds
marinated.
good.
They're good. And then a chipotle pecan sauce, and then mango salsa.
Mm.
So I live in Texas, and so we eat a lot of Mexican food. And so that's what we'll be doing this month. And just check back on, if you follow me on Instagram, and I post things there, and I'm gearing up actually to do a podcast myself. So that's coming, and it's going to be more about aging. And so, really, like I was talking about my mom earlier, I love her to pieces, but that's not how I want to spend, my golden years. I want to just be up and running until the day I keel over. And I know that's the goal, right? And
Yes,
so,
that's the goal for
obviously,
all of us,
for all of us,
and it's doable. That's the thing. We now have the golden ticket. We know how to do it.
absolutely. So
So, Lauren, what would
that's
your
it.
final take-home message be for our green warriors?
Oh gosh. Just don't 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 beat yourself up. One, I hate when people are hard on themselves,
Mm,
and I hate when people are like, "Oh, but I can't do it," or "I messed up yesterday." Just so what? You get at every meal, you get to try again,
yeah,
and you get to start again. And so don't beat yourself up. And then also, I think, just dive right in. Try not to dabble. Try to just dive right into eating this way. And make
yeah.
it simple. Make the bowls, make the salads.
That's good. I like that. That's a great thing. I think it's very motivating, and it can be done, right?
Yes,
Yes, it can be done. So, Green Warriors, tell us what you're going to remember, and type it in the comments. What's one of your takeaways from today's interview? And I would also like to thank Just Has Voice. She did the promos and the voiceovers. And Just Has Voice, tell us who's coming up next.
Are you concerned about providing healthy food for your dog or cat? Does your fur baby have weight or health issues? Join us as Dr. Andrew Knight talks about plant-based dogs and cats. Wednesday, August 16th, 1 p.m. Eastern, 10 a.m. Pacific, on Be Green with Amy Live.
Yep, and I have a plant-based dog, so
Me
it's going to
too.
be a lot of fun.
Yes, I
to
love that.
learn
Yes, I
about
have.
that. Yeah. Well, I want to also thank you, the Green Warriors, our audience, and because that's why we're here, because you're here and we want to get all this information out to you. And we really thank you for sharing it with other people who you think may be needing it. And as a special thank you to all of you, I'm offering you 5 free recipes. So all you have to do is go to my website and you type in begreenwithamy.com/join, and I'll send you 5 free recipes, and you can see some pictures of me doing some little workouts and fun things. So it should be a lot of fun for you to go ahead and watch that. And I wanted to also tell you that everybody needs a hug. So go ahead and take your right hand and grab your left shoulder, and take your left hand and grab your right shoulder. Now squeeze. That's a hug from me to you and from me to you, Lauren.
Same.
Well, thank you so much again. Thank
Thank
all of
you.
you for watching and listening, and thank you to you for being here. I really appreciate it. And as our next time that we're going to do our sign off. So if you wanted to join me with that, are you ready?
Yes.
Okay. Well, until I see you all again, remember, be strong, be well, and be
Be green.
green. Thanks so much, Lauren. You're
Thank
delightful.
you.
Thanks, Green Warriors. Bye-bye, everyone.
Everybody.
Now you can listen to Be Green with Amy expert interviews wherever you go. Listen while walking, meal prepping, or traveling. Find Be Green with Amy on Apple, Google, Alexa, Amazon, or virtually anywhere you find podcasts. Be strong, be well, and be